In the last video, we showed you our favorite place to camp on the Pacific side of southern Baja, where we stay for more than 2 weeks. We knew then that eventually we would have to make our way down to the bottom of the peninsula. So after our last day at Playa Los Cerritos, we turned our wheels south once again and made the 1-hour journey to the southern terminus of Baja California Sur, Cabo San Lucas. The original reason why we came down here is to meet Marlene's parents, who are disembarking from their Mexican Riviera cruise for the afternoon to meet up with us. As usual, we were only supposed to stay a couple of nights here before making our way back up towards La Paz. But you might know by now that this isn't how our stay in Baja have worked out. We met some new friends while camping at a public beach called El Tule and ended up staying for more than a few days. Unlike many of the other beaches here in Los Cabos, this is primarily a locals beach. The weekends are a little busier while the weekdays are mostly tranquil and quiet. Like many beach camps here in Baja, it is at the end of a large arroyo. Birds, horses, and donkeys also happen to enjoy this place.
He's got a little cactus stuck to his side.
A few miles east of here is the other Cabo of Los Cabos. San Jose del Cabo is the lesser known of the two, but arguably the more authentically Mexican one. A few weeks ago, we drove through here with our friends Brett and Liz on a whirlwind tour of Baja. This time we're taking it slow, which is much more our speed. Now it is February. We're well into our 3rd month here in Mexico.
Got one.
With only 180 days on our visa, we know we really should be thinking about booking a ferry ride across to mainland Mexico so we can make it down to the southern border by May. But we just don't quite feel like we're ready to leave this place. Our hearts are still here. We just really love this corner of the earth surrounded by deserts and oceans. A few miles up the eastern shore of San Jose del Cabo is the southern end of the famous East Cape Road, the same one we drove on a few weeks ago. Since our last visit in 2016, the beach of La Fortuna just a few miles up has developed quite a bit. For better or for worse, we wanted to go and see it for ourselves. You can still camp for free along the beach, and now there's even a beach bar serving tasty cocktails, complete with games like foosball and cornhole for guests. On the other side of the arroyo is the renowned sushi restaurant that a bunch of our friends have raved about, so we had to give it a try. I wouldn't say it's the best sushi we've ever had, but considering its location, it is actually quite good. One of the reasons why we're still lingering around is because several friends of ours have been wanting to meet up before we continued on. Our friends Carrie and Tim, that have also been living nomadically for more than a decade, recently transitioned to life on a sailboat. They are finally rounding the Cape as they sail north into the Sea of Cortez. We found a way to camp at the beach where they were anchored. Another friend we got to meet is Leander and Maria of Aquela World. We have tried to meet up several times over the years, and here in Cabo is where we finally made it happen. Like us, they are a family who have been on a multi-year around-the-world trip in their Mercedes truck with their 11-year-old son Lennox. Lennox and Luca hit it right off and were inseparable from the start. We decided to spend the next few days meandering up the East Cape Road with them. Our first stop is a beach at the end of a small arroyo just south of La Fortuna. We have passed this quiet little spot several times, and this is the first time we have decided to camp here. It turns out the surf here is phenomenal. We happen to be here with just the right swell in the water and hardly any wind. The perfect condition for surfing. There were only a few guys in the water with plenty of waves to go around. I chatted with a couple of Americans who now live just down the road from here while in the water. They told me that this is their secret spot, so I'm sorry to say that I won't be able to provide any location details of this fun little wave.
You said C4.
Yeah, miss.
Okay, how about D4?
So this is the beginning of the East Cape. We stayed 2 nights at a beach just south of La Fortuna, which is only like 3 miles into the East Cape. And this is actually our 3rd time passing La Fortuna. We stayed here once, we drove through here once with our friends Brett and Liz of Our Overland Life. And for the last 3 weeks, we actually got stuck in Cabo because we met some travelers at this one beach. We were only supposed to be down here for a day, and it ended up being 3 weeks. We are finally leaving. We're going north. We're going up the East Cape, which is about a 40-mile drive from top to bottom on the dirt. Basically from San Jose del Cabo to La Ribera. So this is our 2nd time driving through this in these last couple months, and maybe our 4th or 5th time driving this overall. But we're gonna take you guys along so you can see what it's like. Right here in the southern part, which is much more built up and populated, but still just dirt roads. Nothing's paved. People have just come down here with their own money and built stuff. And as we go past further north, once we get past Nine Palms, which is a well-known surf spot, things are gonna get a lot quieter. So should be fun. Take you guys along for a ride. So we're 3 miles down the road from where we were last night. 17 more miles to go. We just passed Playa Boca de las Palmas. We're coming up on Nine Palms. We can kind of see that in the distance a little bit. It's a bit of a right point break with a lot of rocks. All the beaches along here have a lot of rocks, a lot of sea urchins, but beautiful crystal clear blue water. There is a little bit of swell in the water today. But before we left this morning, the tide was just maybe like an hour too high. An hour later, I think the conditions would have gotten better. We're traveling with Leander, Maria, and Lennox from Akela World. They're a family who's been on the road for 6 years in their vintage Mercedes truck and a homemade camper in the back. We've been trying to connect with them for a little while now. During the pandemic, they were in the US and we were in Europe, and they actually had to stay in the US longer than they needed to because they couldn't leave. Because they say, oh, you have to leave and you have to take your truck with you, but that was really tough to do, especially when the vehicle is your home. So they did eventually make it back to Europe. We were in Croatia, they were in Austria, but our paths didn't align, so we couldn't meet each other then. But in Baja, right here, just south of here in Cabo, we finally made it work. So we've been camping for the last like 4 nights together, and then we're gonna stick along with each other until we probably get closer to La Paz, going up the East Cape. So all in all, we'll probably stay at least a week with them, which has been really fun because they have their son is 11 years old and Luca's going to be 11 in a couple months, so they're only a few months apart and they really get along together. So it's been fun hanging out with them and also sharing stories. It's very rare you find families that are doing a trip like this, and when you do, you try to maximize and, you know, get the most out of it. We are just going to stop and look for a little bit at Nine Palms. It's pretty crowded, so I'm not gonna surf, but we'll stop and check it out.
We'll see.
I suppose.
Let's walk somewhere easy.
Yeah. All right, that was Nine Palms. Looks fun on the sets. However, tide is going out and it's a really rocky spot. So we're going to skip paddling out. Although there is one guy going out right now. He's still going out. There's a lot of people here. Huh? Go back up that way.
Okay.
Right? You want to go down that way?
No, I don't.
No, I don't think so. So yeah, we're gonna keep moving. Continue north. We made our way north to the village of Los Frailes. At the southern edge of Cabo Pulmo National Park, this place has become extremely popular recently with campers. It seems that several people have been set up here for weeks or even months, all the way up and down the arroyo. We timed our drive here perfectly to meet up once again with Carrie and Tim. They dropped anchor just before dark as we were settling in for our first night here. It was nice to see them again before we continue south. It will probably be several more years before our paths will cross again. All right, Luca, let's go. Lennox, do you want to go? Can you go? All right, do you have to tell your parents? So we've been here on the East Cape for probably about 4 days, maybe 5 days now. Well, depending on when you start counting, I guess. Maybe more like 5 or 6 days. This is Cabo Pulmo. This is the actual Cape at Cabo Pulmo. This is what this whole area, this whole national park is named after. Cape Pulmo. And this is on the north end of the East Cape. At the end of Cabo Pulmo is the village of La Ribera. And on the south end of the East Cape is the village of Zacatitos. So this is the stretch of Baja down here in the southern loop that is mostly dirt roads and pretty well known for snorkeling, scuba diving, clear waters. And in the southern part of the East Cape, there's good surf in the summertime, but occasionally you get a south swell that comes in during the wintertime that can be good too. So we've been camping with Leander, Maria, and their son Lennox for the last few days. We met them in Cabo. They were coming down from Playa Los Cerritos, or I guess San Pedrito I should say, in the Todos Santos area. They're a family of 3 traveling around the world. They've been doing this for about 6 years, and they're from Austria. They've gone all over the place. Central Asia, Mongolia, Russia, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Australia, and then US, Canada, and now Mexico. So Luca and Lennox are about the same age. They're only a few months apart. So they've been really getting along. They seem to like each other. And super fun people to hang around with. So we've been camping with them. I'll give you guys a view. I'm climbing up on the top of the rock at Cabo Pulmo. I'll show you what it looks like down there. That's them in the old Mercedes truck camper. Us in front of them, obviously. And here's the bay at Cabo Pulmo. We camped there before 7 years ago. And then there's a few other people camped there. And there's the town of, I wouldn't really call it a town, just kind of like a little village. Basically, it's only there for this area. A couple of people snorkeling. As you can tell, the water is really clear. And over there, that little point over there, I believe that is El Arbolito or Los Arbolitos. And on the other side of that is Los Frailes, which is where we were before. We were there for one night. We considered staying a second night, but we didn't because Leander wanted to come here and check out the snorkeling situation. But, you know, the weather is not ideal, the visibility is not awesome, but people are still going. But we did meet our friends Carrie and Tim again. They're on a sailboat. They're going up to Sea Cortez. We finally got on their boat. They dinghied us in and out over at Los Frailes. That was really cool. And over here, on the other side of the rock, they have another bay, which is really nice. Leander wants to do some fishing. And you can't fish. It is illegal to fish up here in the national park area. Oh wow, look at the whales. I see a huge splash. We're seeing whales splashing all day and presumably all night. Here's the end. You see a big fish?
Yeah, look at that big fish right there. It's really big. Right there. There's a dark spot in the water.
Oh yeah. That's a big fish. Should we go back?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. It's a little bit windier today than yesterday, which is why the snorkeling is not as good. And obviously, swimming's not as good when it's windy like this. We're actually gonna end our time on the East Cape today. We're gonna head back to La Paz. But we will be traveling with Lennox for a little while still. I think we're gonna go to your dad's favorite spot.
Exactly. And he will catch you a fish.
I've heard the promises.
But it's not a promise, it's just a, well, if the fish, if my dad can catch the fish, you get a fish.
Yeah.
If the fish don't want to be catched,
That's
you don't get a
the
fish.
problem.
Fish never want to be
That's the
caught.
problem. We have to have a fish that will agree to sacrifice himself. We're gonna buy ingredients for sushi.
We're 7 people.
And if we catch a fish, we'll make sushi with the fresh fish.
And buy a fishing rod.
That's a good idea.
This former fishing village turned eco-preserve is quite a marine restoration success story. The shoreline along this stretch of the Sea Cortez was once heavily overfished and depleted of its biodiversity. In the 1990s, the Mexican government turned this 27 square mile area into a national park with the intention of protecting and preserving it. The villagers in the area have since switched their livelihoods from seafaring to sustainable ecotourism. The marine ecosystem, including the northernmost coral reef in the eastern Pacific Ocean, has rebounded over the last 30 years. Their efforts and successes here at Cabo Pulmo have been recognized worldwide as a model for creating marine protected areas. As we left Cabo Pulmo, we left the dirt road and made our way back onto the pavement. Our time with the Kayla World, however, will not quite come to an end. So, for the last 30 miles or so, we've been aired down to about 40 pounds per tire. We normally drive at 80 pounds on the highway. And this air compressor we have is the Vi-Air 450P, which a lot of people have asked us which one we have. We really like this one. It's not a super fast air up compressor. It's a single piston only, but it's 100% duty cycle. There is a little cooling heat sink on top of the pump and it gets pretty hot. So I do sometimes put a wet kitchen rag on top just to let the water in the rag soak up some of that heat, just in an attempt to kind of cool it down even better. But I can let this thing go from 40 to 80 pounds per tire in about 7 to 10 minutes per tire. So it's pretty fast, but also it's not amazingly fast. So it does take us like 40 minutes to get all the way aired up. Stay tuned for our next video. We will be spending our last couple of weeks in Baja with some more friends before finally getting on that ferry to mainland Mexico.